down.
What's up, my fellow bro gamers? Mr. J313 back again with more Mass Effect Andromeda. And on today's video, it is the Human Juggernaut Platinum Build Guide, the Huggernaut. So guys, let's jump right into it. I have the Human Juggernaut X level 20, and I have an 889 health with a 384 shield, and that is the max you can get. I'm spec'd for health and shield with health and shield regen delay reduction, power damage and force, and recharge speed. There really isn't much melee damage in there, but let's jump into loadout and go over that first. So I'm currently using a Siphon Cyclone and Siphon Disciple. Now I know back in a couple of my previous videos when it came to shotguns, I usually ran the Ruzod, but after testing it and using the Disciple quite a bit, I gotta say I am really enjoying it, and honestly I'm preferring it over the Ruzod, so I'm gonna be using that for a while until I can get the Crusader or the Piranha or even the new Shorty. But if you have one of those ultra rare shotguns, I would probably say go with it. If you have a Siphon Dawn, then use it. I would just really stick to whatever shotgun you have as a Siphon because it will really come in handy down the road. So with the Cyclone, I really just like it because it's a Siphon, high fire rate, and it's really good for using in a mid-range engagements because that's really the only time you'll ever be able to engage in anything other than close range, because I really just don't see using anything else with him other than shotguns because that's really how he should be played. Now with the equipment, I'm using Juggernaut Shield because, you know, health and shields and melee damage is just super helpful for him. So for consumables, I would say efficiency mods are the way to go. You could run power amps for extra damage, but I really think efficiency mods are much better because getting more recharge speed is really beneficial, getting all of your combos much quicker, and really just overall power regen. So second consumable, I would say you really have two choices, and that would be a shield mod or strength enhancer. Personally, I say Strength Enhancer is the way to go because having any extra melee damage is really beneficial because you don't really take a lot of it through skills, so you take what you can get. So I want to put up a quick disclaimer, real quick guys, about this build guide. As on my build guides, it is how I play it, my personal preference. It's all subjective to how you want to play it, but this is my tip on this character and how I build him and how I play him. If you don't like it, you don't have to say you think it's stupid or you think I'm building it wrong, because it works for me, and I urge you to try it, and if you don't like it, then respec it and tell me how it works for you. But I have tested multiple different things, and this is what works for me. I'm not using debuffs on Snap Freeze, so don't tell me how I'm using it wrong. So with that said, let's jump into the build guide. On Snap Freeze, I only used 3 points for it because I couldn't go any further, and I don't see much point in wasting the skills because there are plenty of other options in the skills that I needed. So if I did, I would probably go damage over area of effect because, you know, this build is all about getting all the damage you can, and I don't really have that big of a problem with the radius because you're typically right up in the enemy's face. So with Fortify, you're going to max it out. First three, top, bottom. So it's a pretty simple one. You want protection on rank 4 because the mobility really with his Remnant armor passive, it kind of negates the movement speed debuff you get from Fortify, and the extra damage resistance even makes him even more tanky, which is really great. Now, for rank 5, it was kind of tough. I did try out having that melee bonus, and it was nice, but I felt like the shield regen and regen delay reduction for health and shields was much more beneficial than just that 30% on the melee because this build works nothing off of weapons, so that is mainly what power armor is all about. Rank 6, super easy. You want Explosive Purge for 2 reasons. Reason 1, it is an extra primer and is super useful and can stun enemies. So that's really those two reasons. It's another primer and you can stun enemies using it. So you really need to be running it. The 400 damage is just really just laughable. It's not even worth talking about. It's not a lot of damage, but it does do an extra 60% against shields. The negative 50 recharge speed, I wouldn't worry about it, but that is another reason why you want to be taking all of the efficiency mods you can and getting as much recharge speed as you can. So Shockwave, I really don't like Shockwave, but it does work with this build. And just overall, it works with the Juggernaut as a character. So I spec'd it first 3, top, and 6, you know, is really 6 isn't worth going into versus everything else you need for this build. Anti-armor would be nice, but it's not worth it. Lifting Shockwave would completely kill the build and him as a character because it is his only detonator. So rank 4, you want all the damage and force you can get, so that's a pretty easy one. Radius, I would never take Radius because I don't see a problem with Shockwave's Radius as it already is. So you need to take that damage and force for the extra power damage whenever you're getting all of your combos, and I'll go into combo damage later. So rank 5 is a pretty easy one. You know, you want recharge speed because you want to be using it as much as you can to be getting all of the combos that you can as fast as possible. Reach, like I said, is the same with Radius. I don't have a problem with Reach or Radius, so I would just leave it as is. Apex training, first 3, bottom, bottom, bottom. Now, this is a really simple one because everything on top is typically about weapons training or anything to do with weapon damage, and you don't want that. You want power. You want power and melee damage. So bottom on rank 4, power and melee damage. The Human Juggernaut doesn't do a lot of damage as is, so you have to take every little bit that you can. So rank 5, you know, you really only get one good bonus out of this, but it is better than the top for rank 5 because you don't really get anything worth it. That combo damage is going to go a long way to helping you with this build and doing as much damage as you can, especially when you can get tech and cryo combos out of this build, and he can do it all on his own. So with rank 6, you do need that for extra damage and weight capacity. The weight capacity will really help if you are using those heavier weapons, especially with shotguns and when you're running 2 weapons. Right now I have zero problem with weight because my weapons don't weigh that much, but if I was running those heavier weapons, especially the shorty, it would definitely be a necessity. So finally we're going to move on to Remnant armor. Now I do want to put up a really quick disclaimer about how this works because I know I got a comment on this in one of my last videos. I believe it was actually the very last video I did, the pre-build guide. How this works is when you deal damage, you have to deal a certain amount. That is how the buff becomes active. On the description, it says damage. It is not off of kills, it is off of damage. There is a certain number of damage and amount that you have to reach before it becomes active fully. The buff can become maxed, and over 3 seconds, it will drop to 0. That is how this works. It is not off of kills. If you're getting kills, you will be at maximum buff capacity. Now, how you're going to know that is there is a blue aura around your screen, around the border of your TV or monitor. There will be this blue aura that shows up. It is very prominent. You will know when your buff is at max capacity. But over time, over the 3 seconds, if you are not consistently dealing damage and getting kills, then that buff will fade away. So at the end of rounds, you're pretty much going to lose that buff and have to get it back. But that buff is very much worth it, and you always need to be in the fight working towards it because it makes you so much more tanky with all the damage resistance and melee damage that you can get, plus the movement speed. It really just completely negates Fortify movement speed debuff. So that is how it works. It is off of damage, not kills. Damage. You have to deal damage for it to work. Now, once you hit that top, you will have it. But over that 3 seconds, it will slowly decrease. Not completely drop off, but decrease. So first 3, top, top, bottom. Now, I know you're eyeing that invulnerability on rank 6, and you're probably thinking, why the hell aren't you taking it? And I will get to that in just a second. So rank 4, I'm taking the recharge over bottom, and I played with this a lot, and I did like the weapon weight capacity and the max melee buff because that is a big melee buff. That would be 100% melee damage buff, but I just really like that recharge speed because it helps whenever you get out of a fight and getting all of your health back, especially using siphon weapons. So rank 5, that is an extra 40 damage resistance on top of the 50, so that is a 90 at max. So once you're at max, you're having 90 damage resistance. That is super beneficial and almost cuts your incoming damage in half on top of your health and shields, which is awesome. And that is just purely off the buff, not even counting what Fortify gives you. So, and then bottom on rank 5 is just not worth it. I would rather have the all-time for the buff, not just when I'm airborne or evading. So here we go again with rank 6. Let's talk about this. Invulnerability, not worth it because it is only 1.5 seconds. It's not long enough, and really, as soon as you get it, it's pretty much over. It never, ever, ever will help you in any situation, almost, and I just think the 100% fall-off time is so much more beneficial because whenever you're running through engagements, you can keep your buff much longer. So that is why I'm ran it. I did a lot of testing with it, and I have to say that fall-off time is much better than the invulnerability, and I really do wish that invulnerability lasted a bit longer, but it doesn't. And veteran ranks would make this guy so much better, because he doesn't deal a lot of damage. He is just an excellent tank. So guys, let's take the Destroyer of Worlds into some gameplay. So I want to talk real quick about really how the Human Juggernaut plays. And like I said before, I really did hope for something like the Geth Juggernaut with some insane health and shields, and that's not what it is. But I have to say I was not disappointed with how the Human Juggernaut turned out, and I absolutely love it. So as you're seeing right there, Explosive Purge, you can get lots of tech combos, and also having Snap Freeze, you can get lots of cryo combos, but I do prefer the tech combos over it because of the stunning effect, and it just does seem to do a bit more damage than cryo combos, but you do need all of the bonus damage and combo damage that you can get. That is really where he's going to shine, is off of that, but having a very low recharge speed is another great thing about him because you can get so many combos, plus you can survive a lot of different things. I've really noticed that on gold, not platinum, I don't know about platinum, but on gold, whenever a destroyer opens its chest and shoots you, you can sit there and take both shots and still have half health. And I think that is absolutely insane about his freaking damage resistance. And that's not even with his, well, that is with his buff active. So, you know, he can really just pretty much tank anything. And even when it comes to platinum, he can still take one shot, just no problem. Typically, you know, I'm not usually getting shot by that. I'll usually get out of the way unless it's from when I'm not noticing that I'm being shot at by one. So, you know, a little sneaky sniper shot, and he can still just definitely take it and survive, no problem. It'll just drop its shields. But as you're seeing here in the gameplay, he can really just take on whatever he wants and really just not even care. He can take on any of the larger enemies and have no problem soloing them. But his biggest problem is he just doesn't deal the type of damage that I wished he did. Now, he does have those low recharge speed. He has a lot of stun effects, a lot of AoE, just a lot of various things that make him great, along with how tanky he can become. It's just his damage is rather low, and that is his biggest problem, is whenever we're coming from the Batarian Scrapper. I'm not even going to mention the Batarian Vanguard because the Batarian Vanguard sucks and is just completely trash in my opinion. I hate the Batarian Vanguard. He's way too squishy to be a melee build character, and I really wish he would have been completely different or not even added, because there's nothing new about him, and having Charge and Annihilation together are just, that's just dumb. But the Human Juggernaut, what is different about him, me coming from the Batarian Scrapper, is the Batarian Scrapper was a semi-tank who just didn't have a lot of buffs, but could get a lot of damage resistance, although really that 200 damage resistance was at low health, and the other damage resistance was only active whenever you were taking cover. But that did really stack up whenever you played him right and played on that. Now, the Human Juggernaut really just has all of this damage resistance and health and shield from all time. It doesn't have to be in cover, doesn't have to be low health. You just have to be dealing damage out there on the front lines. So what's really different is the Batarian Scrapper can be made to deal lots of damage, just massive amounts of point-blank damage or area of effect damage, whichever you would prefer, or even both. Now, the Human Juggernaut doesn't deal that kind of damage, and it's just so weird coming back, especially for me, because I'm not used to using Fortify with the slow movement speed when it's active. But the great thing is, whenever you have that buff, it can kind of negate some of that movement speed that you lose from having Fortify active. So I never even really notice it. A lot of the times when I'm out running around, actually in a lot of fights, I never even notice that I'm moving any slower than I typically would be from really any other character. It's just the biggest problem is, it's just the damage just isn't there, and that's what makes him fall short on the platinum difficulty. On gold, he is an absolute monster, and I really could just see a solo attempt blowing through it, as long as you're not getting hack or upload. That's really just how gold or even platinum solos are going to work. If you're not a cloak character, if you don't have any form of cloak, stealth grid, or don't mind that Cobra, that was a pitiful attempt. If you don't have any sort of cloak ability, then when you get hack or upload, it's going to be a tough uphill battle. And it's just, in my opinion, not worth it trying to do that. It's just you really need to get those good rolls for retrieval, devices, boss. If you get one of those three, you're golden. The Human Juggernaut, super easy solo gold. It's just the problem with having hack and upload is it's so contestable now, especially with all of the enemies wanting to rush you because you have to draw all of the aggro. It is such a pain in the ass. But if you're not having to deal with that, he makes a fantastic solo character, fantastic team character, especially if you and your team are grouped up together, because you can really just sit out in front and tank all of the damage as much as you want, really. I mean, you have great regen, you have really high damage resistance, your health and shields are pretty good, plus you have some good stun effects, you have snap freeze, you have tech combos that you can drop, Shockwave to push some enemies back, and it really just plays out very nicely because of how really he just works. So that is one really great thing I do like about him. He is just an absolute tank of a character because that is what he was meant to be, and I think they did do a good job of that. I really honestly would prefer having a Human Juggernaut as a tank on my team over any Krogan, to be honest, just because of really how he should be played. And I'm not saying you're wrong if you don't play it this way. That's definitely not what I'm saying, but I feel like this is really how he should be played, with shotguns, up close and personal, drawing all of the aggro that you can. And I really wish this Berserker would have turned a little bit sooner. He was kind of making me mad. I was like, why won't you pay attention to me? But the great thing about him really is because he can tank and get all of that area of effect. Really, you have your choice of getting a cryo combo or tech combo if you are running that explosive purge. And I had never really used it before because I had never really had any character I used with Fortify, so it was really nice. Once I finally started using it, I was absolutely blown away at how great it is. So here you're going to see that blue aura. That is what max buff looks like. Whenever you see that on your screen, you are at your maximum buff on Remnant armor passive. And I do really love the Remnant armor passive, and I'm very curious if the Human Artificer will have the same thing, because she does have Remnant armor. Now, maybe it'll be a bit different. We'll just have to wait and see. She does have the same passive. I'm really hoping that the buffs will be a bit different because I don't see making her a tank. She seems like a tech support character, so we'll just have to wait and see. If you guys haven't seen that video, I did a video on the next characters coming, and as predicted, the Human Juggernaut was one of them. The Human Artificer, Human Commando, and Human Guardian. So if you guys haven't seen that video and you do want to check it out after this one, I will have a link down in the description for you guys. So if you haven't seen that video, then definitely check it out after this one. So back to the Human Juggernaut. Overall, as a character, I think he's a great addition to Mass Effect Andromeda multiplayer, and I am definitely really enjoying playing him. He's a great tank, a lot different from what I'm used to, but he's pretty simple to get a hang of, and once you get a hang of him, man, is he a blast. So he's definitely becoming one of my favorite characters right there with the Batarian Scrapper. Out of the next 3 coming, possibly the last 3, I have to say he was definitely my most looked forward to. I don't know really who I'm going to be looking forward to most next, possibly the Human Commando, but out of those 4, the Human Juggernaut was going to be my favorite, and definitely I am very glad that he came next. And I was so excited to be able to do content on him early, and I'm really happy I got this platinum build got out, and I really do hope you guys enjoyed this video. So if you did, please be sure to smash that like button, because it'll really help us out on our road to 500 subs, because we're looking to get there by the end of the year, and at this rate I really hope we do, because I'm ready to bring more great content to this channel. So I hope you guys are ready for a great adventure with it. So if this is your first time here, please be sure to subscribe, because we're putting videos out every Monday and Friday, as well as a few more when we have some really great content to bring to you guys. And as always, you know it, this has been Mr. J313, and I will catch you on the next one.